Hello, everyone. Melissa, the IVF Acupuncturist here. It's Saturday. I hope everybody's had a good week. I just got done seeing patients and just wanted to do a little recap like I'm doing this January. So it was a good week in clinic. I had a couple of patients with doing fresh transfers. So we're very excited for them. They're in the middle of their 2-week wait. And so prayers for implantation. I just saw a gal who is having a frozen transfer on Monday, and I always try to remember to remind people not to overdo it on the water, because your nurse will tell you that you need to come in with a full bladder, because basically, it's an ultrasound guided embryo transfer, and so they need the bladder to be blacked out, which happens when you drink water. When you have a full bladder, they can kind of see through. They can see the uterus through the bladder if there's water in it, because it makes the bladder opaque. So, but I have so many people that just overdo it with the water. They don't really know what a full bladder means, because their nurses don't really tell them. And so they go in and, inevitably the clinic is going to be delayed for a half an hour or something like that. And they are literally peeing themselves. And so then they have to go and let a little pee out, and then, stop it. And it's just a very traumatic experience. And then some people who are too full, the doctors will put a catheter in just to drain them a little bit. If they're not full enough, they'll put a catheter in to put in more water into the bladder. And so you kind of want that sweet spot where you're not dying to pee, but your bladder is full enough. So here's what I told her is that she has her transfer time. It's at 11 on Monday. So she has to be there at 10:30. So I told her, here's what you do. You pee at 9:30, drink water in the morning, go pee at 9:30, and then drink about 16 ounces of water. And that should be good. So you're not going to panic if the clinic is running late, but you should be right in that sweet spot where you kind of have to pee, you could pee, but you're not dying, and they don't need to stick a catheter in you. So that's a question that I get often asked. So I hope that helps a little bit. But I wanted to talk a little bit about fertility acupuncture today, because, that's what I do. And people get really, everybody's doing needles and follistim and Menopur and Lupron and, progesterone and everything like that. And so they kind of come in with it's like, oh God, I have to get more needles, and that's just not great. But the acupuncture needles are tiny, tiny, tiny. They're tiny, tiny, tiny. And so they're very painless. Sometimes, especially hands and feet get a little bit sensitive because there's so much structure in here. There's nerves and veins and muscles and, nerve receptors and all that stuff. And so that can get a little bit tender. But usually you might feel the needle go in, and then the sensation usually goes away. And it's a really, really relaxing treatment. As I've been doing this for 10 years, working with fertility patients, acupuncture, for 10 years. And so the majority of people, really come out relaxed. It's just a really, really primordially relaxing treatment, where you just kind of get, I call it acupuncture stoned. You're just a little blotto when you get off the table. And it's just a really, really lovely treatment to reduce cortisol, because we know that we're all stressed going through IVF. And so we really want to reduce cortisol as much as possible. I have patients who are like, I'm stressed about being stressed, and then they come and get on the table, and it's just like, okay, whew, that's wonderful. So I brought my little acupuncture model here. Let's see if I can get, yeah. Oh yeah. So we have 361 acupuncture points. All these little points are right here, that run along 14 different meridians that run up and down the body. And so the majority of the needles that I do are below the knees, below the elbows, a couple on the belly, and then some relaxation points on the head. What we're doing when we put needles needles in below the knees and below the elbows, we're targeting the meridians that run through the pelvis. And so even though, you don't have a whole lot of needles on your belly, we're targeting the meridians that flow through the pelvis. We're really harmonizing your internal infrastructure with acupuncture. So all of the meridians are associated with organs, so kidney, liver, spleen, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, heart, pericardium, et cetera, et cetera. And so the three meridians that do the most for fertility in acupuncture are the kidney, liver, and the spleen. And so we target those, and those heavy hitter points are below the knees. And especially on the feet, which is why you always hear like, keep your feet warm, keep your feet warm, keep your feet warm, like after transfer. It's because all of our heavy hitting acupuncture points are, kind of around the ankles, and kind of on the feet. So, yes. So what we're doing, with acupuncture is increasing circulation. We're working on increasing circulation to the uterus and ovaries. If they look at an ultrasound of the uterine artery, with acupuncture being done, it expands the flow to the uterine artery, which is a beautiful thing. What I would say is that, some people find me, they're 2 weeks away from their transfer. They're doing injections for their retrieval, which is totally fine. Like, it is always a good idea to increase circulation to the uterus and ovaries. It is always a good idea to reduce cortisol, to reduce stress, and it can also kind of reduce like all the headaches and all the side effects and all that stuff that come with fertility medications. But if you were looking at improving egg quality, if you're looking at acupuncture for egg quality, research shows that you really need to come in 10 to 12 times before retrieval. And so especially with older ovaries, and especially, well, I mean, I think everybody's looking for egg quality, right? We always want the most, the most beautiful egg cells, the most nourished egg cells, before we go through retrievals. So if you can, I would do 10 to 12 treatments, so about 3 months of acupuncture treatments weekly, before your egg retrieval. What we're working on is the primordial follicle to ovulatory follicle is about a 90-day process. So when you start acupuncture 3 months before your retrieval, you're working on those primordial follicles that will be ovulatory around retrieval, 90 days later for your retrieval. And so increasing nutrients, increasing blood flow to the uterus and ovaries, 90 days before your retrieval really increases the nutrient availability. We always want blood flow, increased blood flow, to the ovaries, especially because as we age, our reproductive systems become the lowest hanging fruit after the ripe old age of 27, unfortunately, but it's just reality. And so if you can't do acupuncture for, 3 months before, because I know we're expensive, I mean, acupuncture is an extra cost. I would do acupressure. So I have my IVF Acupressure Academy. And if you can do daily acupressure for 3 months leading into retrieval, I guarantee that you're going to feel it, that your body will feel it, that your body's internal infrastructure will gradually be more flowy, which is all about acupuncture. We're all about the flow. We want flow of chi, we want flow of blood, we want flow of nutrients, we want flow of hormones, we want flow. Because when we're stuck, like when we're stressed or we're constipated or we have PCOS and our follicles aren't moving, we just really want that lovely flow of how the body is supposed to work. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions about fertility acupuncture or fertility acupressure, you can either DM me or you can leave a comment. Leave a comment in below. I hope everybody has a good fertile week, and sending baby dust to you. Bye.